Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton here on a Wednesday. Thank you, Gerry, for joining me. We're going to talk a little freshman on this off day from practice and what we've gleaned, not only from what we've seen, but what we've heard behind the scenes as well. This episode brought to you by our friend Andy Ludicky over at myperfectfranchise.net. Hey, Gerry, let's talk first and start with maybe the surprise of the spring and then into fall camp now. And that is Grayson Littleton. We're going to talk about a lot of folks, but Littleton, the defensive back out of the Tampa area, has kind of asserted himself in a role that not many people would have seen coming when he signed with the Longhorns.
Yeah, I think the thing with Grayson Littleton is he's made such an impact. It's shifting, I think, how Texas is thinking about the nickel position.
Yes.
As a freshman, that's a big deal. Like, I think the question was, would Gilbo stay at corner? Would he still take reps at nickel? Well, so far it looks like he stayed at corner. And there's only two ways that happens. If Gilbo is performing well at corner, first of all, and I think he's probably a better corner than he is nickel, honestly. Rod Bader's pointed that. And then two, if somebody emerges at the nickel position that makes that decision make sense for Dwayne Akina and Kenodo Hudson and Mark Orfe and Steve Sarkisian and PK. Well, that appears right now to be Grayson Littleton. Now, Wardell Mack ran some first team in the spring, and we're not writing off anybody. But the fact that Grayson Littleton's taking 1 reps this early on a team ranked number 1 in the coaches poll preseason tells you he's a little different than everybody else that's coming to Texas in this class.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about it, but a young man trying to leapfrog some veterans and or reconnoiter how Texas even thinks about its secondary with a lot of returning veterans. So that's good news. And probably for that reason, Gerry, as we do this freshman report today, I think that we would put him at the top of any list for the Longhorns. I will say this, though, as it relates to the secondary, and I think it's important to note, neither Cade Phillips nor Jonah Williams has been a full participant the entire camp for fall camp. Zealous Hicks has been impressive at times. Physically, one of the better looking DBs. He looks a lot like, frankly, Derek Williams, Jelani McDonald in that mold for people who have not seen Zealous Hicks before and want to get a mindset around who he looks like. It's really Derek Williams is kind of his proxy, I guess, at this point. So, all right, next guy that we want to go to, our next position we want to talk about is offensive line and Nick Brooks. Gerry, you were the first to note in the spring that Brooks was just looking fantastic. He is now going to be counted on more because of Andre Kojo's unfortunate injury. Brooks getting work at right tackle and left tackle. He could be the third tackle, period. Maybe even fight for a right tackle starting spot against Brandon Baker. But he has been impressive from day one. I mean, you put a label on him. He's a potential first-round pick. And you did it way back in the spring. I saw nothing in the days that we watched him work out. And then behind the scenes, we're still hearing something very, very similar. Nick Brooks, clearly maybe, if not the most impressive true freshman, maybe behind Grayson Littleton because of what Grayson Littleton's put on the field at this point. But we're still that high on Nick Brooks, right?
Yeah, for sure. And look, I think he was going to be the third tackle, period. Once settled. Because I think he was that coming out of the spring. Then he had the off the field, and they kind of started him at third team left tackle in August practice. That wasn't going to last for long. No offense to the Jaden Chapman, who I think has a chance to be a good player. But Nick Brooks had elevated himself in the spring, straight out of Grayson, as a number 2 left tackle and a guy they even repped at right tackle. Kyle Flood's not doing that out of the gate with somebody who's not really, really, really good. It has nothing to do with the players around him. That's just how good they think he can be. Tony Hills is commenting on that after seeing him in a spring practice. I think Nick Brooks, of all the guys that were in this number 1 ranked class, his NFL ceiling may be rising to the top pretty quickly.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I think that his issue is, well, if he's going to get that opportunity this year. But the reality of it is, Jerry, we think that the Longhorns have a special player at that position. Next group I want to talk about are the defensive line, and not just the interior guys, but the edge guys too. Before we do that, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. Our sponsor for this freshman report is Andy Ludicky at myperfectfranchise.net. If you're wanting to leave the corporate rat race, look into if you could own your own business, the franchise route may be the way for you. Andy has a unique way of dealing with this. He takes you through a multi-step process, interviews you, tries to get your what your background is, et cetera, and what franchise might be perfect for you. So if you're looking for a new opportunity these days, make sure you check out and talk to Andy Ludicky, myperfectfranchise.net, or call him 404-973-9901. Jerry, next piece for us. Defensive line, you and I think three guys kind of standing out, and we kind of jumbled them into this group: Lance Jackson, Justus Terry, Josiah Sharma. Those three seem a little bit more ready to go than Myron Charles at defensive tackle and Smith Orogbo at defensive end in the same recruiting class. What about Terry, Jackson, and Sharma have impressed you, and that you're also hearing from others?
Yeah, I think first thing is a whole. This is either going to be a Clemson level group, an Alabama level group, a Georgia level group, Ohio State level group. That's how good I think these five guys potentially are as a group in a recruiting class. Look, I would say this. I think Josiah Sharma, to our eye, maybe exceeded expectations more than any other player on this defensive front. Now, Smith Orogbo has the right knee brace on. He's coming off in the injury, missed majority of his senior year, but he's back out there getting work. He's going to have to develop his body like Zena did. Very similar in that regard. I think Smith has farther to go physically than Zena did coming out of high school. But look, Lance Jackson and Justus Terry could be really, really good freshmen. But they're sitting there with Ethan Burke, Colton Vosick, and Zena at the same position. So if either one of those guys breaks through this year to get meaningful snaps, they're probably potentially a special player when you consider the group ahead of them. But I think Josiah Sharma is going to play this year. I think guys who are hard to move and can play the run have an opportunity to play on the defensive line in the SEC early. I think Myron Charles has as much upside physically as any of these guys do as well. That's how high I am on this class. But Josiah Sharma, just 6'5", 6'4.5", 355, much like Travis Shaw, but an inexperienced level guy like that, hard to move in the run game. And the more of those bodies you can throw at people over the course of a season, if you're playing a Florida who has a really good interior offensive line, if you're playing Georgia, right? People that are going to want to move your big people, I think that's going to give Sharma a chance to play.
If you're looking for a body type that Josiah Sharma looks like, it's like an older Tavondre Sweat.
Yeah.
Where he's just so hulking and so big. Yeah. We'll see if he's as good a player eventually as Tavondre, but certainly positive results thus far. And then Lance Jackson, I want to mention him and Justus Terry, Jerry, because look, we've heard they may get some early looks in pass rush.
Yeah.
Because they're so quick and so big, and they make that combination. Both of them could be pushed inside on pass rush situations. I mean, that's how good they are athletically compared to some other guys. So a strong group. The next group that we want to talk about, okay, and this is something you and I, when we started talking about top 5 players that we thought were among the freshmen, this is very interesting. You and I both put 2 tight ends in that group. We put both tight ends in there. Amari Winston and Nick Townsend. Amari Winston is the surprise of that group. Nick Townsend was rated highly. Amari Winston was just a 3-star, supposed 3-star, right? But you and I noticed this in the spring, and he came out in the fall, and he's done nothing different other than catch everything thrown his way and look really, really smooth doing it. Also a bigger bodied guy than maybe even Nick Townsend. Yet Nick Townsend yesterday makes his circus catch in the corner of the end zone, apparently, from KJ Lacey. Why are we both so high on these two tight ends? Because I admit it. I mean, I literally created a top 5 list, and I put those two guys before any wide receiver of this group. Is it because Texas needs tight ends and we're showing a little bias, or are these guys really that good?
I think it's a combination. With Emory Winston, I think it's just the number one job of a receiver or tight end is to catch the football, and the guy catches the football. Like, you don't worry about, I jinxed him right now, but you don't worry about drops on 3rd and 3 if Emory Winston's in a game. You just know he's got a great wingspan. He's going to snatch the ball, pluck it out of the air. So I think he can provide a real safety blanket / short intermediate playmaker for a quarterback. That has a lot of value in Sark's offense. Nick Townsend's just a freak athletically. He has something else that no other tight end Texas has recruited has had, maybe since Jermichael Finley. And he may go beyond Jermichael Finley. Jermichael, I think, was a taller frame, longer frame. But just an athlete that can get down the field and make plays at the tight end position. You know, JT Sanders is more of a catch and run guy, right? David Thomas was more of that intermediate game guy. Gunnar Helm was a catch and run guy. With Nick Townsend, it's a deer running down the field, giving you a different dimension guy at tight end. That alone is going to add value to the Texas offense and is probably going to intrigue Sark in ways, if he catches the football consistently, to find a role for him this year.
KJ Lacey's our next guy. You and I both had him in our top 10, even though he's not scheduled to play a down at all this season. But, man, he throws the ball on time. He is anticipatory. You can just tell when guys throw it before guys cut.
Yeah.
And throw it naturally to the right spot. Impressive young man, despite, he's a smaller guy. Yeah. There's no two ways about it. What are your thoughts on KJ Lacey, Jerry?
Yeah, so I think he came into Texas with an advantage to start, like with his competition, even though he's going to redshirt. He played for Jeff Matthews at Saraland. They had a lot, after being down there, and Jeff Matthews, for those that don't know, was a star quarterback at Southern Miss, in the CFL, and briefly in the NFL. A lot of the same concepts that Sark runs. There's some similarity there. Then he trains with David Morris at QB Country, same guy that's trained Arch Manning for years in Mobile area. Really tight with Milwee and Sark. He came in with a quarterback advantage, let's call it. He was ahead in the Sark offense, kind of the concepts, right, versus a Trey Owens. But you still have to have the confidence to go out there and let it rip. And that's maybe what impressed me most about KJ Lacey. There is no fear in that arm. And that is one way to be a hell of a quarterback.
And maybe it's because he's a smaller guy.
Yeah.
He's had to put it out there his entire life a little bit, He's got a little swagger to him, no doubt about it. He really does. So I think that both of us wanted to include him on this list as we talked about him.
Can I say one other thing on him, Bobby, that I think we need to mention? Ryan Williams graduated from high school early, so KJ didn't have him his senior year. He had a guy that signed with Ole Miss. But he's already accustomed to throwing to one of the best receivers in college football in high school, in Ryan Williams. So deep balls, timing in the intermediate game. What did Ryan Williams have, 80 catches? He's done it with somebody high level already, and that helps you too.
Yeah. All right, I'm looking at this and going down the list here. The next guy that we wanted to talk about was Bo Barnes. Before we get to the receivers and give y'all our take up there. Bo Barnes, young man out of Dallas, Skyline High School. He is one of 2 linebackers the Longhorns picked up. He is a guy that will be, based on what we're being told, a special teams stalwart from the start. Now, he's behind Leonga Lafau. He's behind Ty Anthony Smith, those kind of guys. But in my opinion, he's a guy that I had circled, and I had just right at number 10 because Texas apparently likes him a lot.
Well, and here's the thing with Brad Spence moving to edge, he's a play away from playing now, more so is what's happening there, assuming if there's an injury, they keep Spence at edge at the linebacker core. So, but Bo Barnes has been impressive. 6'1 and a half, 6'2", 243, carrying his weight well. We had heard he had a solid spring, especially last half of the spring. We've heard some good things now, but like you said, he's going to be a player on special teams. And I think in the future, he'll be a player at the linebacker position. Doesn't mean he won't get some snaps in some games. But again, here's the thing. Remember the Bo Barnes. His dad was a Division I linebacker. So he's grown up with being taught linebacker keys, how to read things, how to play linebacker. 2, he played in the District of Doom. He's used to playing against fast guys at DeSoto, Duncanville, and he was at Dallas Skyline, some of those teams. So he's not a guy that comes from small school football taking bad angles. He's a guy that's had to play against, try to track down and take an angle on a Caden Durham, on a DeCorian Moore, on a Cohen Brown, on a Keelan Russell out of the pocket. This guy's been athletically tested in high school. So his change to speed of the game might not be as much as we thought originally.
All right, let's finish up with the wide receivers. I ranked Daylan McCutcheon, Day McCutcheon, number 8 overall so far in basically what we've seen. I would say this, Jerry, for you. McCutcheon's the most ready today. There's no two ways about it. Sark has even alluded to that fact. But Khalil Lockett and Jamie French appear really to be moving forward right now. They've changed their body type even a little bit in the couple of months since we've seen them last in spring ball to today in training camp. And then also Michael Terry, another promising young player that he looks like he could have a role on this team either later in the year or into next year because he's so big-bodied. He's a natural pass catcher, and he's athletic, and he's got that size. What are your thoughts on the receivers? Start with McCutcheon and why we both ranked him ahead of the other receivers at this point.
Well, McCutcheon, he kind of had the daily double, right, in high school. He played at Lovejoy with really good offensive coaches, good offensive system, no different than Parker Livingstone. And he trained with Margin Hooks, and Margin Hooks does a good job putting these kids ahead of the game in terms of route running and understanding route running and the nuances at the position. So he came in ahead of some guys in that competition he faced. And so he's going to have that. He's going to be ahead as a route runner. And I would say this in that terms, it would be Daylan, it would be French, it would be Lockett, because Lockett had such great body control and 50-50 ball winner. If I was a high school coach, I'd put that kid in those positions versus running him on curls and digs and such. That's not what you're going to do with Khalil Lockett in high school. Jamie French, I think, was more of a playmaker in high school for his team, what was needed for him. He caught it short, he caught it intermediate, he caught it over the top, right? So he's just in that playmaking role. Michael Terry is totally green at wide receiver. When you heard Sark on a video say play big, I think that what Sark said kind of rang with me. Michael Terry, you're 6'3", 215, 220. He wants you to play 6'3", 215, 220, and not worry about as much being a precision in and out route runner, but just go play big young in your career. But I think what's going to be interesting, and I think Terry needs the most time, but if you talk about McCutcheon, French, and Lockett, where I think this gets interesting with wide receivers, is there's the guys that are able to execute in practice and impress their staffs in practice. Then what happens if they get thrown into a game on Saturday? Who's going to go make plays? Because that's really what's going to decide these guys' careers.
I agree with
plays on Saturdays.
I fundamentally agree with that. And look, I only ranked one guy within the top 10 of the freshman receivers in this. That's not a knock. I'm just telling you that gives you a sense, I think, of the depth of this recruiting class. I to this day, and I said this when I went and saw them that first day a week ago today at practice. It is the best looking group of freshmen from 1 to 25.
Yeah.
That I've seen. I mean, we didn't even talk about Coleman, Jordan Coleman, Jackson Christian. I mean, it's a good looking group of young freshmen on the 40 acres. All right, Jerry, that's going to do it for this episode of On Texas Football. Remember, if you want to get in the franchise game and think you might be interested, give Andy a shout, Andy Ludicky at myperfectfranchise.net. You can email him at andy@myperfectfranchise.net or give him a call, 404-973-9901. He's been doing that for a long, long time and has helped out a lot of folks get into the franchise game. For Gerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. Special thanks to our producer, Matthew Hutchinson. This has been the Freshman Report on Texas football. Hook 'em.